and their bone gets fatter and they grow more hair.
And the head.
And all you want to do is, put them in the slaughterhouse and hang them up for a Christmas goose or something. It's funny how that happens. But that's another genetic problem, or a genetic thing about red American cockers, that is a problem. But the spindliness is a problem, and the very, very fine bone and the chicken breasts and so on. Flat feet can also come from incorrect raising too, and long toenails and not running on the proper surfaces.
Wire bottoms. People that are putting them on wire now.
I raised great-footed poodles on wire bottoms. That has to do with what nutrition and what you've done with your feet and how you've kept your feet clean and how you've kept your toenails. You get big fat puppies on wire bottoms of any breed, and your feet are going to go.
They don't know what the use of it is.
Right. They think it's just a lovely way of not having to clean up poop. And there's no way to get... My husband, who, God bless him, gets up every morning, he goes out and he picks up the yards and stuff, he says, when I started in dogs as a hobby a million years ago, I didn't think I'd still be doing this when I was 60. And I said, God willing, you'll be doing it when you're 90.
You were talking about feet, what about the funny...
Good point.
Yeah.
One of the things that has crept into our breed, and now I see it in other breeds, and I see it in beagles and stuff, and I'll catch them, because I'm a nosy old bitch. And in going over, first you look at a dog from the side, then you go and you look at its face. I always pick up a foot and look at it, and on breeds that are susceptible to it, I kind of halfway feel their toes. There is a problem in our breed that you are not aware of when the puppy is born, and you're not aware of when it's 6 weeks old or 8 weeks old or 10 weeks old when you sell it. The problem is that this toe, as the dog grows, ends up here. It's nowhere near the bottom of its foot. I don't know what caused it. It's some genetic problem. It's an inherited problem. And 18 years or so, Judy DeCassenbroodt, who is a very close friend of ours, was at our house, and she spent some time with us when we had little English cocker puppies. I said, Judy, would you look at our cockbow? She said, I'd love to, darlings. And we brought them out one after the other, and she got, very often happens on blue roans and tan. And she picked up a foot on the blue roan and tan. She said, oh, isn't that interesting? You have this in this country too. And she went right on about her business. So it's on both sides of the Atlantic. And it's not a crippling thing. It seems to skip generations, but it does turn up, and it's one of the things that you should look for when you're assessing your life. It doesn't bother them. Well, and it's not right. No, and when on a foot like this, if you've got one and the toe is up here, and you just trim the foot a little bit forward, 99 people out of 100 except me. Never seen it.
Little tiny feet.
Little tiny feet.
Sometimes such little tiny feet that like it has 3 toes.
Then you would go ahead and breed a bit. I mean, you would respond to it.
See, I would breed dogs with that type of heritable problem, which is not a crippling heritable problem. And I would be very concerned with it if it turned up to a great extent in a litter of puppies, and I would always have it in the back of my head that it would take my breeding, and I would always do it. I don't think I'd breed a deaf dog. I don't think I'd breed a dog that was blind. I don't think I'd breed a dog with a kidney problem. I don't think I'd breed a dog with a severe health problem, because that's not fair to you or the dog. And if it turned out to be a great winner and it was dead when it was 3, what difference would it make to the breed? Because this should be an ongoing thing, and that should be able to be something that people should be able to breed to. And then something like that, I'd breed something.
Is it in solids too?
I've never seen it in solids. Then solids have such heavy coats that, unless you went and spread each toe apart, probably would miss it. But I think it's probably confined to the party box. Judy, don't you have something to add to this? Come on. Oh. Are you back? Are you going to ask a question?
Bless your heart. I stay here until 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes,
No, I wouldn't.
Your clock is Eastern time. She would be here until you ask her to. Let's show enough respect to her to allow her to get some rest. She looks tired today. Her hair's not right. You guys bear with her and give her a break. What's that young saying? Give me a break.
Give me a break.
Just ask one more question.
We'll do a few more questions.
Go ahead. What do you think about temperaments overall in the breed right now? And do you think that there's too many new people?
Stand up and holler.
Stand up and holler. What do you think of temperaments right now in the breed? And do you think part of the problem of temperaments is new people? And
I don't think it's new people because I think that us old people have had problems with temperaments right along. I don't think that they're born show dogs. I really don't. I think they're born house dogs, bed dogs, stomp under your feet dogs, and shed on the carpet dogs. I don't think they're born show dogs. And I think that in order to get them to be show dogs, you have to go through untold hell to make them that way.
No kidding. Rita, I had a comment.
They're forming a club.
Tammy said they buy them from old people.
Us new people are buying our dogs from the old people.
No, this lady's ahead of you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
I want to go back to your settering cockers and maybe a couple cockery setters. It's been a long time since someone attempted to get me into this breed, which I don't know. Coincidentally, a setter, breeder, and judge. And as I think about it, there are a lot of setter people who couldn't stand the heat in the kitchens when Irish were so popular. Is that one of the reasons that you have become a setter?
No, the settery problem was always there. And what compounded it was that setter people went into it and liked the setter look and liked the long head and the long neck and stuff. Also, the longer range your dog could fly around the ring faster and could keep up with the springer and not be overrun by the American cocker. And it got to be, out of hand. These things can happen to breeds. Breeds change overnight because something comes along and is flashy, does something different. I don't think that we're breeding really. I think we've gotten to a saturation point in many of our breeds of where they're almost as good as they're going to get. They're not as free of heritable defects as they're going to get. They're almost as good as they're going to get. And now what people look for is the interesting, the different, the bizarre, the variation on the old theme, and that's how those things get going. But you don't want them so cockery that they can't walk.
Right.
And that they bustle like this.
How wide is a cocker compared to a setter? What's the difference in the relative breadth of a cocker to a setter?
I don't know that I'm understanding your.
The English cocker.
The English cocker should not be a flat-sided breed. They should be a cocker-sided breed. They should have the heart-shaped springer rib, which I don't think you have in your setter.
Right.
Your setter is a more flat-sided, deeper dog. Your English setters, I think, show the problems of your straight forearms and your not having any fore chest. Your Irish setters, I think, are getting a little bit better in there. Gordon setters probably don't have very good straight legs. You yawn one more time, I'm sending you to bed. They don't have very straight legs, but they do have good fore chests.
Part B. I don't know who made the comments. I think Mrs. Queen was quoting people. I can't remember if she was quoting you now or not. About should standards ever be revised? Should we keep the old ones and just maybe change the wording to clarify?
I'm a great believer in that. I hate to see a standard open.
I thought that.
Because I read standards before I judge the breed. No matter, I don't know how many times I've judged English cockers. I always reread the standard. I always find a nuance, particularly in the older standards, that suddenly after 25 years or 24 years of judging, that's what they mean by that. That's what somebody wrote those standards that knew a hell of a lot more than we do. We know what the names of the bones and the names of the heritable diseases and all those kind of things, but those guys worked with these dogs. They read them for particular reason and use. Form, father, function in those days.
So you're really, I object sometimes when we say in our new standard.
No, clarified
because
standard.
It is not a new
No.
standard.
This is a clarified standard and was done very carefully. It's only to clarify and not to change. Yes, sir. Can't hear you. Yeah. There's no mismarking in the standard, really. The only mismarking that he speaks about in the standard perhaps are shawls or diamonds or big shirt frills or white feet. The mismarking that is called mismarking, a flipped eye or a totally blue-rolling head or a white ear or something like that, that's, you're going to run against the occasional judge who's going to take exception to it, but it's really not a problem. If you're going to get into a problem of lacking pigment around an eye because you've got no marking around an eye, then I think that has to be taken to task. Because an eye without the correct pigment around it, is a startling and unattractive look. But even reading in your second definition of solid colors and party colors, if you're going to get into markings that are not the pretty markings, the hand-painted markings that we have on the black and white pitch. Even so, that should not be held against a good dog. It's eye appeal. But, you know, if you had a great dog and it had what we call a spring leg, which is a solid black leg, or a sweet head mark or something like that, or it should make no problem. Really should. A lot of dogs these days have rolling strips on their ears and white strips on their ears. It's really a beauty. Anything more? Oh yeah, Judy, go ahead. Speak up.
A comment on your presentation of the animal. I'm seeing in the cocker ring people picking the dogs up by the tails, lifting the fronts, throwing them down on the ground. You haven't touched or pulled the tail once this evening.
Because I'm old-fashioned, anybody will tell you that.
Well, I know that, and that's what I'm commenting on. Why are we seeing all of these people who are doing all this cranking?
Because the American cocker people started that business, and it won for them, and it worked for them, and they trained a whole bunch of judges to, you know, deal with that. And this business, you know, 99% of American cockers aren't better in front than our English cockers, but they can pick them up and slam them in front because they're all covered with hair.
Why aren't the judges finding that out when they put their hands into them?
Because it's difficult to find. It's very, very difficult to find a crooked front-legged American cocker because of the wealth of hair, because it can be trained. And you can feel it, and just, you know, sometimes you only feel one leg, and then you depend on watching the dog move, how it reaches in front. And generally a black dog will come at you, and it's got so much hair that you can't really see how it's cut. You've been trying to figure out whether he's got a good front. You know?
Do you find it offensive when you find the people picking them up by their tails and pushing and shoving?
They don't do it under me too much.
What?
So they don't do it under me too much. Who's the poor boy that I hollered at the other day? There he is. Had a young man showing American cockers the other day. Very handsome American cockers. He almost won with the one he didn't want to win with, but that's another story. He came back in the ring with a very pretty English cocker, and I looked at him, and he looked so strange showing an English cocker because he was showing it exactly the same way as an American cocker. And his arm was all broken up like this, and the lead went down like this, and he went around the ring as though he'd fallen on that shoulder, and I thought, why does that look so funny? I bought it in American cockers, but it's not the way to show an English cocker. And I spoke to him about it, and I mortified him, I think. Well, I think that an English cocker, we're used to seeing an English cocker go on a bit more natural lead, a looser lead, and
He went on the same way.
Yes, ma'am.
Different judge.
I got a list.
Yeah, the dog will show better than the bitch 9 times out of 10. Spaniel bitches, you know that, are a pain in the neck. No, but Spaniel bitches can be awful.
They are. Those are bad.
Yeah.
I thought so.
I mean, you know, if we were going to give an award for really doing the most job, you'd have to give it to Vicky Spice for what she's done today. No, they see no reason to. They want to go lie in the bed. They're lazy buggers. Anybody else with a hand up? Guess that's it. I sent that man to bed. No, he's still there.
I have one more question.
Yes.
You made the comment, in your opinion, solids are for the most part too overwhelming.
No. I didn't say that. I said that there is a line of red cockles that are great at 13 or 14 months of age, and they don't have sense enough to quit big, and they keep going on, and they get bigger and fatter and hairier and jowlier and so on. And there's a line of red cockers and there's a line of black cockers that do know to quit. But I think that the only color in the breed that I have ever seen are Karen. Maybe 15, 16 years ago, there were three red brothers in the same litter, and each one prettier than the other one. Karen had one, and there was one on the East Coast and stuff, and they were just gorgeous when they were 13 and 14 and 15 months of age. When they were 2, you could look at them. They just never stopped growing up. You know, they just got closer.
They almost always have a tight eye. We get that so much more variation in vertical.
I mean, could you look at that and not die? Okay? No more questions. You're all going to go out and be world beaters in Chicago tomorrow, right? I've succeeded in confusing you more than anything else.
I have one last question, and I will have to say, I believe the old standard said something about, are referred to the darker the best. Of course, now,
The what? It's not true. Colors various. Cell colors, white shirt, and party colors. No, it got to be the fact that people thought that the only proper color for an English cocker was blue rose.
Yeah, but the brand's now so many different colors now. Some of the judges look at that orange dog and